Welcome back to our Lua tutorial series. In the last few tutorials, we have been working with custom functions using positional arguments. Today, we will transition from custom functions to using tables for named arguments, making our code more flexible and readable. The function customer takes one parameter, name, and prints it. If name is not provided when calling the function, it defaults to unknown. The function customer expects one parameter, name. If name is not provided or is nil, it defaults to unknown using the OR operator. The function prints the value of name with the label name. When calling the function customer, you need to provide a value for the name parameter. However, if you call the function without providing a value for name, the default value unknown is used for name. To add more parameters to the customer function, such as age and city, you can simply extend the function definition to accept these additional parameters and adjust the default values accordingly. Now, the function customer accepts three parameters, name, age, and city. If any of these parameters are not provided when calling the function, default values will be used, unknown for name and city, and 0 for age. When calling the customer function, you need to provide values for all three parameters. If you call the function without providing values, the default values will be used. This modification allows the customer function to handle additional parameters while still providing default values for any that are not explicitly provided. When calling the customer function with positional arguments, it is important to ensure that the arguments are provided in the correct order, corresponding to the parameters in the function definition. For example, the first argument corresponds to name, the second to age, and the third to city. Positional arguments must be provided in the same order as the parameters in the function definition. If the order is incorrect, the arguments will be assigned to the wrong parameters, potentially leading to unexpected behavior or errors. If you want to omit one or more parameters and only provide values for certain ones, you need to remember the correct order and position of the parameters you want to skip. This can be error-prone, especially in functions with many parameters. Functions with many parameters can become less readable because readers need to remember the order and meaning of each parameter, especially if the function is called in multiple places with different arguments. In contrast, named arguments provide a solution to these limitations by allowing you to specify which parameter each argument corresponds to, regardless of the order in which they are provided. This makes the function calls more explicit, readable, and less error-prone. In this modified version, the customer function takes a single parameter info, which is expected to be a table containing the customer information. This table contains named arguments, name, age, and city, which are then unpacked inside the function to obtain the corresponding values. This approach allows for more flexibility and readability when calling the function, as you can specify the arguments in any order and explicitly label them. It also helps avoid confusion about the order of parameters, which is a limitation of using positional arguments. To define a function, we use parentheses after the function name to indicate its parameters, if any. To call a function, we use parentheses after the function name to provide arguments, if any, to the function. To create a table, we enclose the key-value pairs inside curly brackets to define a table. To pass a table as an argument, we can pass a table as an argument to a function by enclosing it in curly brackets. Positional arguments are passed to a function in a specific order, and their positions determine which parameter they correspond to in the function definition. Used when calling functions where the order of arguments is important and known. Arguments are assigned to parameters based on their order. Commonly used in functions where the order of arguments is consistent and known, such as mathematical functions or simple utility functions. Suitable for functions with a small number of parameters where the order is intuitive. Named arguments are passed to a function as key-value pairs, where the keys correspond to parameter names in the function definition. Used when calling functions where the order of arguments may not be important or when providing arguments selectively. Arguments are explicitly labeled with parameter names, allowing for flexibility in argument order. Used in functions where the order of arguments may vary or when providing arguments selectively is desirable. Useful for functions with many parameters or optional parameters, as they improve code readability and maintainability. Understanding the difference between positional and named arguments allows you to choose the appropriate method based on the requirements of your function and the readability of your code. Lua supports both approaches, providing flexibility in function argument passing.